to witness Yvette's amazing brand of creativity, and also to see her IRL, as the kids say. Yeah, so let's just open it up for any questions.
Me?
Yeah?
Oh, I'll be down.
Pleasure. Hi, my name is Will. I actually met you 2022 when you played at the, I forget the name of the lounge off West 4th Street, but you signed my jazz master, which was so sweet of you.
It's the lounge, you said?
Yeah, I can't remember the name
Was
of
it
it.
the Saunders?
I think it was. It's French. I don't know. It's so great to see you again. I said back then that, to me that you're the greatest living guitarist in America. I don't know. And I saw late last year that Rolling Stone acknowledged the obvious. How does it feel to be acknowledged that way?
It's a lot of pressure. You'll have to excuse me if I'm sniffling. I'm just gonna be vulnerable. I'm a little emotional and teary-eyed right now. It's just, music is like a really powerful thing, and I gave everyone hugs after this, and it was just like, I got to know a lot of them closer, and it's just like really special that we're here. So I just want to acknowledge that, so it's not weird that I'm like it's a lot of pressure, but it is also obviously a privilege. I think a lot of us struggle with imposter syndrome, and I definitely feel like as an outsider to guitar, and like as an outsider to just like a lot of things, self-taught, sometimes I pinch myself. I'm like, have I tricked this many people into thinking I'm good at something, But I think at the end of the day, the right attitude is like, this is such a rare opportunity, and I'm witnessing firsthand how music can better people's lives, and I get to be a part of it, and I get to, literally help people want to stay alive. So it's just a gift to be able to have a position. It's a big responsibility as well, because I'm always, being on social media, sometimes I want to troll, but I'm like, oh, is that going to make the world a better place? Maybe. Maybe not. But yeah, the point is that I'm grateful for it. It does scare me some days. Like, I'm kind of shy, introverted, and like being on stage even and talking to people isn't something I've always been great at. I used to hate it, but it's a chance for me to grow as a person. It's a chance for me to meet all of you and hear your stories, and I'm just grateful.
Thank you.
Of course.
I just thought it was a little low, the number that they listed before. I think they're going to correct it the
I
next
agree.
time.
Yeah.
It should be closer to one.
Should have been at least top 5. But.
Somebody had a question.
Hey, this is going to be a music producer question.
Okay.
Have you ever, or are you yet to incorporate like hardware synthesizers in orchestral performances? Because I've been working a lot with like symphonies that sound a lot like violin and other string instruments, and I was having a conversation with friends on what if orchestral instruments were somehow replaced or kind of like combined with synthesizers. And for the guitar, this kind of answered my question of how it would sound like an electric guitar, which is also similar to that. So are there any like developments like that, or would you give like advice for anyone trying to write stuff for both orchestra and synths?
Great question. One of my favorite things to do is to combine the sound of cello with synth. So recently I got to go to this cool studio in LA, and I got to listen to a bunch of recordings like Jimi Hendrix and stuff, but like to tape. And he pulled out all these reels, and we were just listening to it track by track. A lot of it is stuff that like never got released or stuff that kind of got lost in history. And it gave me just so much appreciation for tone, because I realized that, you hear his guitar tone and you're like, oh, that's cool, it's probably distortion or like some fuzz thing or whatever, but then he muted that layer and then played the other layer. It was kazoo. He had doubled his guitar with kazoo, and it just blended. Like kazoo by itself is such a goofy ass instrument. Who's gonna play an epic lead with a kazoo? That sounds like some meme material right there, right? But Jimi Hendrix did it, and it was really sick. And so then it got me thinking, synth is such a cool thing where where it can sit really organically as like a bed underneath something and really add beef to it. I'm not like a producer, like I didn't study this, but I do love music, I love playing instruments, and yeah, I really like hearing it under cello, electric violin. I think obviously under guitar. It's great. A lot of stuff these days, a lot of modelers actually have like built-in synth patches. Like I love the one on the Helix. It sounds great, and it tracks wonderfully. So yeah, I think the future for synths and stuff like that is really bright. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry.
We're gonna go.
I'll let Peter pick.
You said you did visual art. Yeah. What kind of visual art did you do? Like, did you paint? Did you sketch? Did you like do digital art? And how does that kind of affect your music and your composition? Because I play music and I also like art. So
Respect. I love that question. One of the greatest things you can ever do for yourself if you're a musician is to learn other art forms. You'll find that being a creative, everyone's struggle is the same. Be it a dancer, a skater, a painter, a rapper, like everyone has the same obstacles that they have to overcome. I started in visual arts. I painted. I was actually, funny enough, I was an art teacher before I ever became a guitarist, and to be a guitarist was like such a surprise to me because I thought I'd just be like teaching at a school. But how it affected me was, I guess the whole way I think, I do think visually, like every song to me is a story. When I close my eyes, I already kind of know what the characters look like and what the feeling is supposed to be. And if anything, I feel like where music comes from for me is I'm like writing themes for these people and places that I hear in my head. And to me, success is when I'm able to successfully bring people there, especially with instrumental music because it's so non-literal. And for me, all this stuff I have here, yes, it is probably excessive, but I need it all. I love it all. To me, this is my colors. You're a music producer. What I realized is that, like, for me, guitar is like a melody that I write, and that's guitar. And then this is how I choose to produce that melody and how I choose to help it come to life to tell that story. So, yeah, like my melody, black and white drawing. These are my colors that I used to color it in. And that's how I think about everything when I write. Sometimes I start with a color if I'm feeling uninspired, like maybe some blue brown would make me, want to paint something ugly instead of all this pretty happy stuff that you write. So, yeah. And I do a lot of like my own album art, and that's a really exciting process to me because I get to choose how I want to portray the sound. So you're in a great position. You can write your own music, and you can make your own art, and you can explain yourself visually and express yourself visually. So, respect. Thanks, Peter.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hello. My name's Juan. I'm here with my girlfriend.
Welcome.
I saw you back at Swanfest, I think 2022, 2021. I can't remember. Anyways, I feel like we're all human, and we kind of lose motivation or lose our fire at a certain point. Something happens and gets us down, and we just can't seem to get out of that rut. And my question is, how did you maintain like your fire for playing music all these years? Because I'm sure there came a point where you got very sad or something happened to make you not want to play at that moment.
That's a really amazing question because I think a lot of people can identify with that. It's funny because I just taught at a camp, and one of my classes was about like how to keep inspired and keep that spark alive. I'm not gonna lie, it's gone dim for me a lot of times. I think it's kind of irresponsible for me to say that you're never gonna feel like you want to quit because a lot of life is hard, reality is crazy. So a lot of things get in the way of making your art, even yourself. How I get over that feeling. I think I've just without rambling on for too long, I think when I started out, it was all, like playing guitar was the thing that saved my life. You know, I was really sick in the hospital and taught myself how to play, and that's kind of like the thing that gave me a new voice and made me feel like I had agency again. And then it became my career, and all of a sudden all this pressure was put on me, and all of a sudden I started writing music for other people, because, well, number one, I'm a people pleaser, and number two, you know, that's part of the career, is you gotta be successful, and you gotta get people to like you, and you gotta sell things. And I think it's difficult putting art in the context of, like, I'm not like saying like, you know, of capitalism, but like, you know, in a capitalist context where you have to think about it as like money, you know, it kind of takes on a different feeling. It's less pure for me. And as soon as I started associating with pressure, I realized that I was doing things and making choices that weren't really me. And I went through a lot of bad stuff, and I realized that I ended up in those places because I really wasn't paying attention to what I even wanted out of music, you know? I think the key to keeping passionate about it is really understanding yourself, and when you start to feel, like I call my passion for music a spark. Sometimes it's a big burning fire, sometimes it's a mere ember. And when it reaches that ember state, like you have to realize like, okay, I need to figure out what feels wrong. Like where am I feeling dissonance right now with what I'm doing? And I need to really focus on that like childlike part of me that comes at music from a place of like exploration and experimentation and wanting to grow and just wanting to play around with cool sounds and wanting to feel good. And as hedonistic as that is, I think that's really good for your sense of creativity. And when you're able to, of course it's a privilege, right? Not everyone has the privilege to be able to do that. Everyone's busy, people gotta work, you know? But I think, you know, it's easier said than done. You gotta just cut out all the stuff that makes you feel like quitting in that moment and fall back in love with the part of music that brought you to it in the first place, and then you can reintroduce all that other stuff. So I'm actually taking next year to hibernate because I feel like I've been touring nonstop, and when you're touring, you can't write. And I realized that, oh man, like I'm not even an artist anymore. Like I'm not really making stuff. Like I'm just like going out and performing and like, you know, demoing pedals and stuff. But like me, Yvette, I started out music writing. I wrote like a song every week, and it's like I want to get back to that. So I'm gonna take some time away from touring for a while. I have to make money, so I'm probably gonna just like do art or something to supplement it, but I'm just gonna like protect music because it's the thing that saved my life in the first place. Hello, hi.
My name is Kaufman. I'm from Dominican Republic, and tonight I'm visiting New York with my husband and some friends. I just met you tonight. It was an amazing presentation. And I have a classical piano background. Actually, I'm a piano teacher in my country. And I want to know how to cross over from classical music to contemporary music. Some tips or advice.
Totally. You know, I'm trying to think of the moment I crossed over to just being a rocker. You know, should be told I played in orchestras and I did piano competitions and stuff, but I really hated it. Like I was only doing them because my parents expected that of me, and I was doing that for them. And then it actually gave me immense anxiety to audition and do all these things. And I think I was forced to stop because I got really sick. You know, like that was my wake-up call when I was younger. Like, hey, if you don't take all this source of pressure away, you're not gonna be okay. So, and it was during that time where I discovered guitar, and I started. I used to sneak out to shows, and I used to like, you know, go to rock shows, and my mom would find out, and she would come pick me up. It was super embarrassing, but I always wanted to write music like that, and that's when I was like, you know, when I had no pressure, nothing to do, I was like, damn, I super want to write stuff for a band. You know, that would be really fun, and that's kind of how I started doing that, experimenting. But it was through that where I fell back in love with classical music, and I was like, you know what, this isn't bad when I take away the whole like comparison, competitive part of it. Like the music is timeless, it's gorgeous, it's genius, it's like so composed. So I would say there's not really a bad time to cross over. If you love all kinds of music, then go ahead and try to find ways to integrate it into your current sound. Do you write, or do you write for yourself? Awesome, yeah. I started my band with the whole mission of wanting to just take everything I love about all kinds of music and just put it into one sound. I called it Covet because at the time it's like, oh, I like that word. It means to really want something. And I think I just I named it after the feeling of really wanting to hear this nebulous thing in my head. So I took my love for romantic era classical music. It's so just it sounds romantic, it's so beautiful. I took my love for post-metal, doomy sludge stuff. I took my love for the polyrhythms of prog and odd time signatures, and my love for the jangling tones of emo, and I was I'm just gonna put it all in one sound. So I would say just whatever you hear in your head, experiment, have fun, and just go for it. And don't care if it's weird, because that's how cool new shit happens.
Hi, thank you. I'm Benjamin. I've been a fan for many years, and I saw you for the first time about a year ago at Brooklyn Made. It was so great to hear you with so many musicians on stage. It was so great to hear a lot from them. When you were composing this, how did you think about space?
In my what? How did I think about space?
How did you think about space when you were composing this so that the other musicians had to express themselves and you did too?
That's a great question, because I tend to be verbose. The way I work is I just throw everything at the board that I hear, and then I go and I remove. So I think initially what I didn't want to happen was I didn't want to just write a bunch of guitar music and then have the strings be an afterthought that I just switch on. So I approached each movement kind of differently. The first one I would say that I wrote with consideration for the strings mainly. I was guitar will just be background. Second one I was guitar first, then I'll start adding strings. And then the last one was kind of a hybrid, but I think more so guitar heavy. But at that time I kind of figured out my balance, so I think the last one is easier for me. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's important just to remember that I'm not here serving myself, I'm here serving the music. So if the good music means I'm not there for that moment, then I'm happy with that. I'm actually overjoyed with that, because most of the time I don't want to be perceived. But yeah, I think that's kind of how I approached it. And with a lot of listening and a lot of refining, and a lot of this guy helping me, with suggestions and things like that. So.
I think we have time for about 3 more, so I'll try and be equitable in this way.
This is pretty random, and I don't have any way of phrasing it to make it sound special. Everybody has this idea in this document, for example. Do you believe in a connection between music and astronomy?
And what?
The planets, the solar system. What do you think about that? Because I feel that that's become really huge to me, and I've been reading tarot every single day for the past year pretty much. And when I'm looking at these things, I'm looking at worldly events, and I'm looking at the synchronicities and coincidences and the power of music and love, and how these are all the same, and we have an ability to conquer this division and whatever, this mass illusion, constant fighting and war and blah. How do you put that all in one place? Do you? Are they all separate things to you, and you just tend to one thing at a time, or do you conceptualize it as we are all one, everything that I am putting into myself, every facet that I'm pursuing, it's all love? What do you think about that?
That's a super loaded question.
Yeah, this is gonna be bad, and then I totally expanded on it.
No, of course. I think, it's hard to verbalize what the thing that music makes us all feel. I'm pretty rational and scientific. I'm the kind of person where if someone goes, "Oh, I saw a ghost," I'm probably it was just particles of blah blah blah, rationalizing. But there's certainly some things about the way music makes us feel that I feel it is kind of difficult to rationalize. It feels like magic. I describe it as, I don't even know how I write some of this stuff. Like, I'll listen to him like, dang, that's crazy, I don't know. It feels like a superpower, and I feel like I'll go my whole life trying to get close to being able to master the superpower. I'll never get there. That's the beautiful part, is I'm never gonna feel like I mastered it, but I'm only gonna get really close, right? And I think it does feel bigger than me sometimes, because at the end of the day, I'm sitting in my room and making this stuff, but I'm seeing that a lot of people are feeling really these beautiful things from it, and I feel like that personally gives me a lot of sense of purpose. Maybe that's my form of like universal love, right? Like me, myself, like I only have so much to give as a person. I'm a mere mortal, but what I can do is I can make stuff and I can put my heart into it, and I can hope that like it gives some hope or some purpose to someone else out there, you know? Yeah, and it's a universal language. I think it's beautiful because no matter what your background is, who you are, you can find something to relate to in music. And I think that's the beautiful thing about shows. Like, I'll be on stage and I'll look out at the audience and like, wow, I would never see that guy with that guy, you know? Like, it's just like such a random and very people, but it's beautiful because they're all sitting here bonded by music, and live performance is like a gift of energy, you know? I used to think of it like, oh, I'm on stage and I'm nervous and blah, blah, blah. But then I recently started thinking it of like, I'm making a lot of people happy. I see smiles and that like charges me, and I'm like giving a little bit of my energy to everyone. And I think, you know, that's a beautiful part of live performances and why it's important. So yeah, I don't know if that like even begins to answer your question, but
parts of it, but yeah, I don't even know how, but a year ago my ex-fiance called me and he proposed to me, and we were just best friends, and he was in the Air Force, and we had fallen off, and I'm listening to a Mapper String of Light, the first one, and I'm on the road going to some other guy's house, and he's like, do you want to marry me? And I'm like, yes, whatever. And then he hangs up, and I'm like, what the heck just happened? Like, this woman has been following me, and like I'm saying save my life, shape my life, and now it's happening again. I'm looking at part 2 a year later, and like I'm looking at what I felt then and what I feel now and my different situations, and it still makes sense. I don't know how you're doing that.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
This truth, this love, this music, all of these forces and how they come together, and blah, what I do with my astronomy and my astrology school, and all those silly things. I just think it's very real and huge. And since you have a huge part in it for me, like, just my perception is that it has to be for everybody. So, like, that's why I was so curious as to what you thought.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy that you're here and, you know, you're sharing this with me and being vulnerable.
Thank you for being here. I think we can also.
Oh, sorry. Oh, go for it. Hi, it's good to see you again.
Hi, nice to see you again. I'm from Orlando because we're all San Francisco. I haven't seen this twice now. I really do feel like you could take the guitar out of it and it would really read as a piece that you wrote. And I'm trying to put my finger on why that would be.
Really what?
Read as an Yvette Young piece. Even though I only really know you as a guitarist and mechanist, like why does this piece for a string orchestra sound like Yvette Young?
It just sounds like an American football ripoff.
Sounds like you.
So gross.
Alright, so I was just wondering how you think about rhythm, because I feel like that is what sold it to me. It's like this, rhythmically, there's a lot of like declarative moments that feel like this is the motif that we've made and I'm declaring it. And I'm just wondering how you think about that in the process of writing.
My process of writing is a lot of just me like humming stuff to myself. I find that I write the best guitar lines when I'm singing it, because I'm not like letting, I feel like I'm not, you know, I'm not like the world's best guitarist. Contrary to what Rolling Stone magazine said, I'm not, it's clear. But everyone here plays an instrument. If you have a voice, you can sing and you can imagine melodies, and I find that what comes out from my voice is organic and it's like memorable. I think a lot of time my goal is just like get stuck in someone's head. So I love just singing something, getting it stuck in my own head, and then like trying to teach myself it on guitar. So I think a lot of times you're hearing guitar stuff that sounds like me because it's literally me just humming stuff. And I super suggest that as a way to write, by the way, if you're feeling like you're playing the same thing all the time. Put your guitar down, sing, record it, and then just teach yourself how to play it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dylan. I've been listening to your music for a while. This is my first time hearing you live. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Ideas, man. I was wondering, are there any unexplored sort of genres or instruments, or just sort of like things that you really want to experiment with? Things that get you excited, ideas that you're most excited about right now.
I love that because I immediately think of so many things that I'm excited about, and it's like, I feel like I'm just getting started, you know. I've been listening to a lot of hyperpop, just because I think the production is so cool, and they do so many risky things, and what I love about pop music right now is that a lot of it is super ballsy and experimental, and I do feel like it is borrowing a lot from the underground, and I love that it's not so like generic sounding anymore. Like a lot of the production is just like, there's no rules. People are breaking rules, and I love that. And so yeah, hyperpop. I've been listening to a lot of soundtrack stuff because I dipped my toe into the movie scoring world a little bit, and I loved it. To me, it was so fun, and it felt like me, you know. So I would love to dabble more in that game design stuff too. I think I'm realizing that I'm maybe like less of a performer and more of like someone who loves being in a studio setting, just like making things, you know. And I recently, better late than never, started trying to drum, and I just really have so much respect and appreciation for drums, you know. Like the rhythm section of the band has so much power. I know people love to joke that like bass players don't matter and like all that. Bass players in the crowd, you do matter. You actually have so much power to dictate the groove and to like reframe a melody that sounds boring and make it sound fresh. Drums too, and like I've been trying to learn a lot. I love this band Pelican, and I love hum, like just doing shoegaze stuff. And I've been learning some Pelican drum parts. I'm like, this is so fun. And then I started learning some Black Sabbath drum parts. I'm like, this is crazy. Like it's so fun to just hit stuff, you know. I get why people do it. So I would love to get better at drums. I'd love to one day even be like a drummer in a band for fun, like not for pro, for fun. But yeah, thanks for letting me talk about stuff I love.
100%
Okay, so we'll do one more, but you know, Yvette is here in the building.
Yeah, I'll hang out here if you want to like
as you know, she's one of the most generous people of giving of herself. So we'll do one more, and then she's here. I just want to say thank you again for coming out and being a part of this really, really special evening.